the hidden blessing of being rejected by your child in old age. There comes a moment in life when the very people you once carried in your arms, the ones you fed, clothed, and prayed over, turn their backs and shut the door on you. It is a wound that cuts deeper than any other, because it comes from the very flesh of your own heart. For a parent, being rejected by your child feels like betrayal by life itself. Like the years of sacrifice were nothing more than dust, swept away by the wind. But here's the truth most people will never say out loud. Within that heartbreak lies a hidden blessing. A strange, almost sacred kind of freedom begins to rise from the ashes of disappointment. When the ones you love most cast you aside, it forces you to rediscover the strength of your own soul, a strength you might have forgotten after years of pouring yourself into everyone else's needs. Rejection strips away illusions. It takes away the comforting lie that love will always be returned in the way you gave it. And though that loss feels unbearable at first, it opens a door to the purest kind of growth. Growth that no comfort, no easy affection could have ever birthed within you. In America, we cherish family. We build our lives around the dream that children will honor, respect, and remember us. But when that dream collapses, you are left with something most people never get the chance to touch. The raw encounter with who you really are, without titles, without roles, without expectations. It hurts. It breaks you. Yet in the breaking, something divine happens. You discover that your worth was never tied to who accepts you or who rejects you. You begin to see that life, even in its cruelest moments, can still hand you a gift, and sometimes that gift is the unexpected blessing of being rejected by your child. Number 1. The pain that opens the door to self-discovery. There is no wound like the sting of rejection from your own child. It is not the kind of pain you can simply brush off or distract yourself from. It lives in your chest like a quiet storm, breaking your heart in waves. When your child, the one you once sang to sleep, tells you they no longer want you in their life, it feels as if the ground beneath you has crumbled. For a long time, that pain feels like nothing but loss. You replay memories of the sacrifices you made, the nights you stayed awake worrying, the dreams you gave up so they could chase theirs. You wonder, was it all in vain? Did your love mean nothing? These questions echo louder in old age, when time feels more precious and loneliness presses in more sharply. But here's where life surprises us. That very pain that threatens to destroy you also becomes the sharpest mirror you'll ever stand before. It forces you to look at yourself, not as someone's parent, but as a human being with your own story, your own essence, your own worth. When the role of being mom or dad is stripped away by rejection, you are left face to face with the person you are beneath it all. And that is where self-discovery begins. You start to notice that your identity is bigger than being needed. You remember passions you once buried under the weight of responsibility. Maybe it's the art you never painted, the garden you never grew, the music you never played. Rejection pushes you toward the rediscovery of those silent dreams. It hurts, yes, but pain has a strange way of waking us up. Many elders in America carry wisdom not because life was kind, but because life was ruthless enough to break them open. Pain forced them to stop pretending, stop hiding, and finally face the truth of who they are. Being rejected by your child is not a chapter you would ever choose, but within it, there is an unexpected invitation. An invitation to step beyond the old roles, to see yourself clearly, and to understand that your value was never tied to how anyone else, child or otherwise, chose to see you. This pain does not erase you. It remakes you. And in that remaking, you begin the journey of rediscovering the deepest self you had almost forgotten. Number 2, rejection as a catalyst for spiritual awakening. There is a sacred silence that follows rejection. At first, it feels unbearable. The phone doesn't ring. The door never opens. Holidays pass, and the chair at your table sits empty. You reach out, but the silence answers louder than any words ever could. It is in that silence that loneliness swells like a tide, threatening to drown your spirit. But what if that silence was not punishment, but a doorway? When the voices you once leaned on fall away, a greater voice has the chance to rise within you. Many elders who have walked through rejection testify that it was in those hollow spaces they finally heard God more clearly. The absence of human love created a hunger that could only be filled by divine love. In America, faith has long been a refuge for the brokenhearted. Churches, prayer groups, even quiet corners of a bedroom where hands fold together, these places become sanctuaries when the family ties unravel. Rejection, in this way, can become the soil in which spiritual roots deepen. Without the distraction of trying to hold on to a child who no longer wants you, your soul has space to cling to something eternal. Spiritual awakening is not about escaping the pain, but about seeing it differently. You begin to understand that rejection is not the end of your story. It may actually be the beginning of your most intimate walk with the divine. When people leave, God enters. When your child's love is withheld, you discover that heaven's love never is. This awakening doesn't happen overnight. At first, the loneliness feels sharper than any prayer. But as you keep showing up in prayer, in quiet reflection, in tears, you begin to notice small shifts. The sunrise feels more alive. The words of Scripture or the whisper of wind through the trees carry comfort you never felt before. You realize that while you lost the closeness of your child, you gained something far greater, the nearness of God. Rejection strips away the false securities. It reveals how fragile human bonds can be, but it also uncovers the strength of the bond between your soul and the eternal. And in old age, when every day feels more sacred, that kind of awakening is not just healing, it is transformative. Rejection may have closed one door, but it flung open the door to a deeper faith, a stronger spirit, and a peace that no one, not even your own child, can take away. Number 3, learning to release control and expectations. One of the hardest lessons in life is realizing that no matter how much love you give, no matter how many sacrifices you make, your child may still choose a path that leaves you behind. As parents, we carry a quiet expectation that the bond we built will last forever. We expect gratitude, respect, and a measure of loyalty for the years we poured into them. But rejection shatters those expectations into pieces. In that breaking, a choice appears. You can cling to the broken pieces, cutting your hands as you hold on to what no longer exists, or you can let go. Letting go is not surrendering your love, but releasing the illusion that you control how it is received. That release is painful, like unclenching your fingers from something you thought was life itself. Yet with every finger you release, your spirit feels lighter. In America, independence is celebrated as a virtue. We teach children to dream big, to stand on their own, to carve their own path. But as parents, we sometimes forget that independence cuts both ways. Just as children must be free to live as they choose, parents too must be free to accept that their worth is not tied to the roles they once played. Rejection becomes a harsh but powerful teacher in this lesson. When you stop demanding that your child love you in the way you hoped, you discover a new freedom. You no longer live under the weight of unmet expectations. You no longer beg for crumbs of affection. Instead, you begin to accept life as it is, not as you wish it to be. This surrender is not weakness. It is strength of the deepest kind. It takes courage to say, "I will love even if it is not returned," I will live, even if I am not chosen. That kind of surrender transforms bitterness into peace. It untangles the knots of resentment and replaces them with quiet acceptance. Rejection teaches that love is not about control, and expectations are often the very chains that keep us bound. When you release them, you finally taste the freedom of unconditional love. Love for your child, love for yourself, and love for life itself. Number 4. Rediscovering community and brotherhood beyond family. When family closes its doors, it is easy to believe that you are utterly alone. But the truth is, the world is still full of people waiting to know you, to hear your story, to share their own. Sometimes it takes being rejected by blood to finally discover the family that exists beyond it. America has always been built on the spirit of community. From church congregations to neighborhood gatherings, from senior centers to veterans' halls, there are countless places where people gather not because they share DNA. When your child no longer chooses you, these spaces can become lifelines. There is something profoundly healing about finding connection outside of family. It reminds you that love is not limited to biology, a kind neighbor checking in on you, a group of friends at a community dinner, a stranger who becomes a companion through shared interests. These connections matter. They prove that your story still has value, even if your child cannot see it. In many ways, rejection by family forces you to widen your circle. You begin to see that love can be chosen, just as much as it can be given by birth. The warmth of shared laughter in a church potluck, the bond of a volunteer group working together, the comfort of someone sitting beside you in silence. These moments become reminders that you are still deeply connected to the world around you. And sometimes, these chosen families become stronger than the ones you were born into, because they see you for who you are today, not who you once were. They embrace your presence not out of obligation, but out of genuine affection. Rejection may close one door, but it opens many others. And in those new circles of belonging, you may discover the brotherhood and sisterhood of humanity in ways you never expected. Love, after all, is not limited to bloodlines. It is alive wherever open hearts are willing to receive it. Number 5. The gift of time for personal growth and legacy. Rejection has a way of creating empty spaces in your life. At first, those spaces feel like nothing but loneliness, long afternoons stretching endlessly, and holidays that feel quieter than they should. But if you look closely, those same spaces are also gifts, precious hours returned to you, time you never thought you'd have again. For decades, much of your time was spent in service to others, caring for children, supporting family, working to put food on the table. Your identity was bound to responsibility. But when your child rejects you, you suddenly find yourself with a kind of freedom you didn't ask for, yet one that can be transformed into something powerful. This is the season when you can finally turn inward and nurture the dreams you once set aside. Maybe you've always wanted to write your story, to let the world hear about the struggles you endured and the wisdom you earned. Maybe you've longed to pick up a brush and paint, to craft something beautiful with your own hands. Perhaps your heart longs to give back, to volunteer, to mentor, to plant seeds in the lives of strangers who will remember your kindness long after you are gone. In America, we often talk about legacy, the footprints you leave behind when your time here is done. Rejection, as painful as it is, can sharpen your awareness of the legacy you want to build. Instead of pouring all your energy into trying to win back someone who has shut you out, you begin to invest that energy in the work that will outlast you. You turn your pain into stories that teach. You turn your silence into art. You turn your wounds into wisdom that younger generations, not just your own blood, can learn from. This is the hidden blessing. Rejection frees your time and your spirit to create something that belongs to you alone. And that creation becomes the torch you leave for the world. Number 6. the strength that comes from standing alone. There's a strength you never know you have, until you're forced to walk without anyone by your side. Being rejected by your child feels like being pushed into solitude, a kind of exile from the very home of your own heart. Yet in that solitude, you learn to stand. You learn to live without leaning on the ones you thought would always be there. At first it feels impossible. The silence is too loud, the absence too heavy. But day by day, you rise. You cook for yourself. You manage your affairs. You make choices that belong only to you. And somewhere along the way, you realize that you are not as fragile as you thought. This strength is not loud or boastful. It is quiet, steady, and deeply dignified. It is the kind of strength that looks like a tree, standing through storms with roots that go deeper than the eye can see. Rejection forces those roots to dig into the soil of your own soul. It's worth remembering that America was built by people who often stood alone. Pioneers who crossed unknown lands. Dreamers who built lives from nothing. Fighters who refused to surrender to despair. Their spirit lives on in you. Being alone does not mean being abandoned by life. It means you carry within you the same resilience that has carried generations before you. Standing alone also means standing free. No one can take your peace once you've learned to find it in yourself. No one can strip away your dignity when it's rooted in your own soul. Rejection doesn't just test your strength, it reveals it. And once revealed, that strength becomes unshakable. Number 7. Rejection as a blessing in disguise for generations to come. When your child rejects you, the pain feels deeply personal, almost unbearable. But what if the strength you gain through this trial isn't just for you? What if it becomes a light for others, your grandchildren, your community, even strangers who witness your resilience? Life has a way of teaching through example, more than through words. If you endure rejection with bitterness, the lesson passed on is one of anger and despair. But if you endure with dignity, grace, and quiet faith, then you leave behind a legacy far more powerful. You show the generations after you that rejection is not the end of love, nor the end of life. It is an invitation to stand taller, to walk wiser, and to lean on something greater than human approval. In America, we cherish stories of survival, how elders endured the Great Depression, how families overcame wars, how communities rose again after loss. Your story of rejection, though it feels small compared to history's great tragedies, is still part of that same fabric. You become a living testimony that wounds can be turned into wisdom, that abandonment can be turned into freedom, and that pain can birth strength. Even if your child cannot see it now, the way you live through this rejection may echo in their heart years later. And if not them, then perhaps your grandchildren or those you meet in your community will carry forward the lesson. Your perseverance becomes a blessing disguised as loss, a quiet beacon reminding others that no heartbreak is final unless you let it be. In the end, your rejection does not just shape you, it shapes the world around you. It becomes part of the invisible inheritance you leave behind. Not money, not property, but resilience, courage, and the unshakable truth that love and worth cannot be destroyed by rejection. Conclusion: the silent gift of rejection. Rejection from your own child is a pain that no parent should have to bear, yet many do. It feels like the cruelest twist of life, that after giving so much, you are left with so little in return. But within that heartbreak lies something extraordinary. What seems like a curse can reveal itself as a gift, a hidden blessing that reshapes your spirit, deepens your wisdom, and draws you closer to the truth of who you are. Being rejected strips away illusions. It teaches you to let go of expectations, to release control, and to find peace in places you never thought to look. It opens doors to new communities, new passions, and even a deeper walk with God. It strengthens you in ways you never imagined, reminding you that your worth is not defined by who accepts you or who turns you away. The blessing is not in the pain itself, but in what the pain uncovers: your resilience, your freedom, your capacity for love beyond conditions. And perhaps most of all, the quiet testimony your life leaves behind for others. You show the world that rejection is not the end, it is a beginning. So if you find yourself carrying this burden, know this: you are not diminished, you are not forgotten, you are becoming. And even in the silence left behind, there is a gift, a blessing that will carry you and those who come after you into a deeper, truer way of living.